Hey guys, back again with another video. In this one, it's going to be the Hyperlite 2 chest protector review, and then I'm also going to throw in a little comparison with the Hyperlite 1 and the current Mach chest protector, just since I have those anyways. I figure I might as well kind of do a little, I'm going to put them all on. I'm going to show you, do a little comparison. This has been a very requested and asked about video that was in the works, so it's finally here. So sit back and enjoy. So this is the Bauer Hyperlite 2 chest protector. And right off the bat, I'm going to say I was very impressed with it. I've been very impressed with it. I really like it. This is not surprisingly to me, but this is going to be my chest protector moving forward. I I think it's overall pretty much an improvement over the Hyperlite 1. Um, you know, we'll get into a little bit of the comparison with the Hyperlite 1, but in general, I think this is just a really great chest protector. I think it's kind of a little bit like the best of both worlds between the Mach and the Hyperlite 1. And I think just in general with Bauer, like with the two lines, with every generation's coming out, they're getting a little closer to each other, meaning like the Mach, or it's really the Supreme line. It's just that the latest version is called the Mach. Um, just like this is the Vapor line, it's called Hyperlite currently. Um, but with the Mach, it kind of used to be a little more bulky, bigger, but less mobile. But well, older Supreme models, I mean, not the Mach. But the Mach is pretty mobile for what that line has been. Meanwhile, I feel like with this Hyperlite 2, it has pretty much the same mobility as the Hyperlite 1, but it is offering a little bit beefier, a little bit more like structure. You present a little bigger when you're wearing it, similar to what you would get out of the Mach. So it's a lot of just like, really, what are you leading a little more towards? If you just want the absolute most protection and like size in the unit, you probably more lean towards the Mach. If you're looking a little more for just really concentrating on mobility, it would be the Hyperlite 2 unit. That's basically how I would explain the differences there. But anyway, let's just get back to talk, because I'm gonna try on the other units and kind of show you what it looks on me and talk about them a little bit, even though I've done reviews on them already. But let's just talk about this right now. So I mean, right off the bat, out of the box, like there really wasn't much breaking in. Like it doesn't really feel much better now than it did out of the box. You know, like yeah, anything's gonna feel at least a little bit better after you use it for a while. But it really not much difference. Out of the box, this thing's ready to go. Like I said, this unit puts mobility at a premium. There is nothing I can't do. Whatever. There's nothing I feel uncomfortable doing. I feel like it's inhibiting me. There's nothing like that. So, and that's really what I look for in a chest protector mainly. Obviously, I don't want to get injured or anything, but as long as as long as the protection is good enough where I'm not getting like seriously injured or whatever, I've always been one to like put up with maybe some bruises or feeling some shots if I can get just really good mobility and comfort out of it. But saying that, I don't think you're really giving up a lot of protection with this unit like maybe you were with the Hyperlite 1 or like the Bauer 2X. Because that was like, if I ever heard a complaint with the Hyperlite, it was that they just didn't feel like it had enough protection. Mainly they're talking about in the arms. I definitely feel the arms have been beefed up with this unit. Now, when I say that, I'm talking about, it feels like there's some thicker padding. I don't know off the top of my head like exactly what padding goes into this. I'm definitely not about to cut anything open to see. So I couldn't tell you like if they actually changed what the padding is here. All I know is it feels a little more robust. It feels like it's a little thicker. It feels more solid. So in here definitely, and in the bicep, And then, as I talked about in the out of the box video with this, they changed the foam here on the little elbow piece. The outer part is basically the same exact thing as the Hyperlite 1. I would say if you had any issue with the protection on the outside of the arm with the Hyperlite 1, it's going to be the same with this. That part they really haven't. It's mainly just these front sections of the forearm, the bicep, and they changed the foam on this that have been kind of reinforced, beefed up, what have you. But like the shape of it, the shape of the arm is pretty much the same, and the side protection, inner protection is pretty much the same. So if that was something you had issue with, that's not really changed. It's more just in this front part that if you had issue with the Hyperlite 1, this is definitely better arms on the Hyperlite 2. Just to show you kind of the side and the back. And this is not just with the Hyperlite 2. I noticed this with the Hyperlite 1 and in the Mach. Pretty much all Bauer units at this point have really good side protection. You can see how much you get here. It really comes up high. It really wraps around. So I really like that about this. I've never had an issue with like getting hit off to the side and having something hurt or whatever. I think that's really a strong point with, like I said, not just this, just about any Bauer unit at this point. Now, if you watch my out of the box video, you notice I talked about kind of how they did the shoulder floaters and changed that up, and how Bauer themselves describes this as a lacrosse style chest protector. I don't play lacrosse. I couldn't really tell you what that means, but that's just how they describe it. But I can obviously show you and talk about how this shoulder floater is definitely different than I think anything. I can't, off the top of my head, I can't think of another chest protector that does it like this, where the top of it now does not just continue all the way down as one piece. It connects up at the chest plate here, and then you have a second piece that comes out on the side. Now, what I feel this does is provide a little more articulation. It's like having a break there, and it just helps with mobility. Not only that, but I feel like the shape of this kind of coming up and coming out to the sides and up provides what I was talking about a little earlier, where I feel like I'm presenting a little more like squared off, broader shouldered, which was not anything I was ever against, because especially I'm not a big guy. I'm only 5'11", 170. So just my own body doesn't take up a lot of room. And in the past, it's not that I was against having a chest protector that offered kind of more, take up more space, but usually when you have that, you're sacrificing mobility, which is why I always went with just the best mobility type chest protectors, and usually they kind of more streamline and you don't quite look as big in it. But this, I did felt like it kind of broadened my shoulders up a bit, and it squared off the shoulders, so when you're facing a shot, you have this nice square that's not like rounded out, and if you get kind of clipped in the edge, it'll just bounce off and in. This is going to probably catch a little more of those pucks. I mean, look, we're talking about, I don't know how many pucks. You're saving maybe an extra 1 out of 50 shots or something. It's not like night and day, but let's face it, if you can take up a little more room, even if it's like an inch here or there, it's, it could help, and it's better than not taking up that room, right? And like I said, not giving up mobility with this. So I really like that about this chest protector. And I'm not going to talk too much about like the build of this, because that was the out of the box video. I'm just really want to talk more about how I played with it, how I felt with it. So I liked how that presented, down in your stance, whatever. You get some of those shoulder, especially like around the edge of the shoulders. You might catch a few more with this than you did with the Hyperlite 1. Again, mobility great, and even though they did beef up the arms, I mean, I'm still able to pretty much do anything with it. Like if you're asking me which is the most mobile between the Hyperlite 1 and Hyperlite 2, I'm gonna have to give the smallest hair of an edge to the Hyperlite 1, because like I said, it's not quite as beefed up. It's a little more considered body, but for what you're getting with this, the tiny pair of a mobility you're giving up from the Hyperlite 1, I don't think it's really a big deal at all. And I think overall, this is just a better overall unit than the Hyperlite 1. So yes, the arms are a hair more mobile, and I guess in general I would say the Hyperlite 1 is a hair more mobile altogether, but this is still really good, and with the other improvements they made, I think it just makes it an overall better chest protector personally, especially if that was your issue with the Hyperlite 1, which, like I said, if I ever heard issues, it was like protection-wise with the Hyperlite 1. That being said, max protection, Mach, if that's what you're looking for. So yeah, like I said, no issues playing when, like, you know, anything with the glove, anything with the blocker. I wasn't getting hurt or feeling the shots really hard like I would every now and then with the Hyperlite 1. Like I never personally thought the Hyperlite 1 had like bad protection for me, but that's kind of a more personal issue. Some people can deal with more than others. Some people just don't want to feel anything, what have you. So it wasn't an issue with the Hyperlite 1, but I could definitely tell with this that like I felt the shots less with this. Something I posited when I did the out of the box video, when I saw how they did the foams specifically on this chest plate and also on the elbow piece here, is that it was going to dead in the puck a little more, and I did find that to be the case. I've talked about with the other Bauer units that, especially in the chest plate, the type of like carbon or whatever they put in there that Bauer is known for big rebounds was in there. And a lot of times if you got a really hard shot there, it would fly out, and you really, a lot of times, didn't have a chance to put your glove in and corral it and keep it to yourself. So you were giving up some bad rebounds that way. It wasn't a lot, it wasn't all the time. And it was kind of somewhat dependent on the speed of the shot, but that was a little bit of an issue I had experienced in past versions. I feel like this foam that they use now, the way they made this, it does help dead in those straight on chest shots a little bit. Same with the elbow here. So I did think that was an improvement with this as well. Trying to think as far as my own experience with this, what I can really talk about. I mean, I'll turn around just so you can see the back as well. It's a pretty straightforward back piece, not really much to it, so I don't really have much to say. I don't have any issues with back pieces. Oh yeah, I know another thing I want to talk about. The way they did the belly section, off the bat I didn't really notice this until I started using it, but so it is a little bit different, and you'll see when I put the Hyperlite 1 on. The Hyperlite 1 is just more kind of just one whole connected piece here. This has more of a disconnected bigger flat piece in the front, and it has almost like a break going down the sides of the front, which allows this to kind of wrap around your torso better, your waist better. And also I feel like this flap kind of helps when you're bending forward, and it has more give to it. So it's not ever usually getting caught and like digging in or anything like that. Like, it's just a very comfortable transition from standing to kind of bending forward, or, you know, twisting, turning, like, so again, overall, like, that's kind of a theme I feel with this unit, is just the areas they decided to make like breaks and articulations and separations in the padding all goes towards how mobile and comfortable this unit is, while, like I said, at the same time kind of beefing it up a little bit and kind of making it wear or fit bigger on you to take up a little more room. Specifically, it's in the shoulders. I also feel like the arms present slightly bigger. I think maybe it's just because this foam is a little more solid, and it wouldn't get kind of, I don't know, warped or bent over time. So you're keeping this nice shape here a little more with this foam piece here. But yeah, so I really like this unit. As with a lot of the Bauer chest protectors I've reviewed recently, I recommend. I mean, they've been knocking it out of the park with these units for a while. I feel like they just keep, not that there was really much to complain about in past units, but even just like the little things, it's like they're even addressing those things. Like, I'm trying to think, like, this is almost a perfect unit, pretty close. Like, I don't really know. I'll talk about one minor thing, but for the most part, there's really nothing at this point major that I would be like, hey, Bauer, you need to address this, you need to do whatever. Like, so the only somewhat complaint, and it's not even really an issue for me, I could see it possibly being an issue with some people, but more for me, it's just kind of like a little annoying. So I talked about in the out of the box that the strapping on the arms, talking about this strapping here and this strapping here, it's just sewn in. There's no way to adjust it. I've never seen a chest protector like that before on the Mach, on the Hyperlite 1, past Bauer units. You can always adjust those straps. So it's a little bit of a tight fit, and like as you see, I'm wearing this base, or as you saw in the intro video, and you can kind of see here, I'm wearing this Bauer base layer. That's what I wear when I play. It's long sleeves. Because of how tight that is, and I can't adjust it to loosen it up a little bit, when I put it on, it kind of drags the sleeve down, and it's kind of annoying because then I got to go back in and fix the sleeve and whatnot. I mean, it's not a big deal. Once I fix it, it's fine. It's just an extra step I didn't have to worry about with other units where I could adjust it and I could loosen it up a little bit. But again, once I make that little adjustment, fix the sleeve, it's fine, feels comfortable on me, whatever. Two other things to say about that is, again, it's not an issue with me, it's just kind of me thinking out loud about that though. One, like I said, I'm 5'11", 170. I'm not big overall. My arms are not big, wide, whatever. I don't know how this is going to work if you're like a bigger guy. You know, heavier, whatever, your arm's thicker. You might just find it too tight and there's really nothing you can do about it then. You can't adjust it looser. So kind of piggybacking off that also, let's say, all right, you try it on for the first time like me, and it's fine, it works for you. It's you know, you don't necessarily have to loosen it. But, you know, with elastic over time, elastic will stretch and just get looser. And, you know, in the past, with all my other chest protectors, if that ever happened, I could always just adjust it, tighten it a little bit to account for the Velcro getting looser. So what happens if a year from now, the Velcro starts getting really stretched out and it feels loose and I want to tighten it? I can't really do it any conventional way. I mean, I guess you can kind of do your own somehow modification, but I'm not really into doing that. I'm not really good at that. I don't really mod my own gear much at all. So that's kind of a concern I have. But as of right now and how I've been using it, this has worked fine for me. Those are just kind of what ifs I'm throwing out there that could possibly be the case. But yeah, overall, I think this is a damn near perfect unit. I think if you really want the really good balance between kind of like decent protection and a unit that will give you that size in the net while also just being really, really mobile, I think this is the one to go for. But I think that's pretty much all I have to say about this. I can't think of any other issues or really anything else I have to say about it. So now I'm going to try on the other two chest protectors, and I'll talk about the comparisons and how they differ, especially how the performance was for me differing between this and those other units. Okay, and this is the Hyperlite 1 chest protector. Now, if you want more info on this and a review, I did a video, so go see that. This is really not going to be a review on this. It's more just strictly going to be a comparison thing to the Hyperlite 2. So I think you can kind of see just looking at it, the arms especially, I think you can definitely tell they're like a little, I don't know, skimpier for lack of a better term. They're, you know, a little thinner, and the shoulders you can see they kind of slope down, a little more rounded, so you're not getting that straight across, really squared off shoulder look like you do in the Hyperlite 2. Another thing I just realized that I forgot to mention when I had the Hyperlite 2 on, that I thought of as soon as I put this on after, I feel like the Hyperlite 2 feels lighter. Now, I didn't actually weigh them. I don't have a good way to weigh them. So it's just going on feel, and sometimes that can be wrong. Sometimes, I don't know, just something can feel lighter to you, but then when you actually weigh it, it's not. That happened to me recently when I did a comparison of the Hyperlite blocker and the Mach blocker. Just on a field test, the Hyperlite blocker felt lighter, but when I weighed them, the Mach was actually lighter. So it may not actually be the case, but just on a feel, when I put it on me for whatever reason, the Hyperlite 2 feels lighter than this. I'll just throw that out there. But beyond that, like I said, you can see this seems a little more like, especially around the arms and shoulders, streamlined, contoured to the body, not as much padding. You know, especially this part, you know, again, some of the main differences, this padding they used here, it's just like a hard kind of internal padding with the nylon cover, like everything else is nylon here. And like I said, this side padding is very, very much the same. This feels a little less, I don't know, thick or whatever. And it just looked, like I said, you can see it just looks a little, the arms just look a little smaller. They look like they're taking up less room, there's less padding there, which if strictly mobility, like I said, I have to give the edge to this. If we're comparing out of these 3 chest protectors I'm talking about in this video, I have to tell you which is the absolute most mobile. It's this one. So I will say that. But like I said, you are giving up certain things like I'm explaining here. And then I was talking about the difference in the belly flap. Here it's just this one little thing that's like segmented or different, whereas in the Hyperlite 2 it was more, I think it would go out to about here. This big piece would have been the one to come up. So this one kind of is a little bulging out more in the belly area, and it catches a little bit when you bend down. It's not like a big deal, but it doesn't have that same mobility, the same kind of articulation and brakes like the Hyperlite 2 does. So again, another difference, like I said, is this chest plate, which this does have a layer of soft foam over it, but overall it's not as soft, and underneath the soft foam is, like I said, that curved composite or whatever Bauer puts in their stuff. And I just felt like the little bit of foam they put over it wasn't enough to keep pucks from bouncing out, not all the time, but like hard shots, like I said, from bouncing off of these too quickly before I could have a chance to corral them. That being said, like I said, this is still a good unit. At the time I reviewed it and when I've used it, I really loved it. I've been recommending this to a lot of people, so it's not that this is bad. It's just that I think the Hyperlite 2 overall, like I said, is a little bit of an improvement. I'll show you again, like I talked about, this side padding. This unit still has that like kind of extra piece of side padding like the Hyperlite 2. Although I think the Hyperlite 2 might actually even be a little bigger than what's on this Hyperlite 1. Either way, I've always thought, like I said, the side padding in these Bauer units has been really good. No issues there. So those are the main differences really with the 2 units, like I said. Hyperlite 2 compared to this, you're going to present a little bigger. It's a little bit beefier, especially in the arms. So the tiniest, I want to emphasize, it's really not much of a difference mobility wise. But if I have to say, yes, this is more mobile. But the other things that are improving, I think, is really worth the Hyperlite 2. So that's kind of the comparison with this Hyperlite 1. Now let's move on to the Mach. Okay, so last but not least, we have the Mach unit. So this is what the Mach unit looks like on me. Again, you want a review, I did a review video on this. So you'll notice right away, again, the shoulder is a little more squared off, present a little broader than the Hyperlite 1, but pretty similar to the Hyperlite 2 in that respect. The biggest difference is the arms, talking about just between the Mach and even the Hyperlite 1 or 2. It's just a completely different construction. At least with the Hyperlite 1 and 2, it's a similar construction. They just kind of changed the foam a little bit, whatever, but the design is very similar. This is a completely different design. This is like this moving hinge design, and this is all like molded plastic or whatever it is, but there's no like real movement or articulation or breaks in it. It's just like molded to a shape, and that's what it is, which is very hard, it's very protective. So if we're talking max protection in the arms, these are the arms. And that's, if people who go custom, that's like probably the most common thing they do out there that I've seen, is that they'll do like a Hyperlite chest protector, Hyperlite 2, whatever, and they go Mach arms because they just want the max protection. As I said, for me, I don't need max protection, I just need adequate protection, and I prefer the mobility. Now, I can move in these arms, not that I can't, but I feel like they're less mobile than the Hyperlite 1 or 2 arms. You can kind of hear it. I'll be quiet for a second. So that's, you can hear it like rubbing, right, as it's moving, which is providing resistance when you do that. Now, it's not enough resistance that it's going to stop your arm. I mean, any adult has enough strength to push past that, but it's still something you kind of feel when the arms are moving, right? Which you don't have that feeling with the Hyperlite units, either one of them, because it's not something sliding around. It's just a brake and it bends and whatever. But this, you kind of have that sliding, and I just prefer not to have that feel. Also, every now and then, especially if your arms are a little more up in front, this can get caught up in this shoulder flap here and be a little annoying. not huge deal. It's not gonna like make you just not able to play in it or whatever. But when I'm just comparing them, and especially for me, coming from a comfort mobility factor, these arms just aren't ideal for me. Like I said, I admit they have the best protection, but for me, the Hyperlite, even the Hyperlite 1 and definitely the Hyperlite 2 arms, the protection's fine for me. I don't need anything more than that. So I wouldn't want these arms, and that's one of the reasons why ultimately I wouldn't also use a Mach chest protector as my full-time chest protector, even though I could. I mean, it's still a good chest protector. But with the Hyperlite being an option, I prefer that, and I go with that line instead of this. That being said, as I said in my review for this, I do think this is a very good chest protector. I think this is very mobile for what it is, and if you're just looking for max beef, max build, max protection, I have no problem suggesting this even over the Hyperlite for you if you're telling me that's what you're looking for. But just visually showing you, I think you can see how solid these arms are. Like I said, it's just there's no even, and especially on the side. So like I said, that side part on the Hyperlite, both 1 and 2, I've heard being issues for people. This, not going to have that problem. This, you're not going to feel the shots like you are on the Hyperlite 1 and 2 if you get hit on the arm. And especially in the front, it's completely solid. So that I can understand. And again, like I said, the shoulders, you see, they square you off. They're a little broader. Now, this chest plate, even more so than the Hyperlite 1, I felt like the pucks really flew off this because this has even less padding in front of it. So again, that's the difference between the Hyperlite 2 and the Mach, is that Hyperlite 2 is the chest plate thing here is gonna kill those pucks a little better. Talking about the belly flap, so this has like a little thing here and these 2 little ones here. So when you are bending forward, this will kind of go up and move up and get out of the way. So in that respect, it's a little more similar to the Hyperlite 2, but I think the Hyperlite 2 does it better than this. In general, I still feel like the belly is just more of a completely rounded barrel feel, whereas the Hyperlite 2 is a little more contoured because it has that break here where it can cut off and go to the sides. And again, talking mobility-wise, Hyperlite 2 has the edge on this. So I think you can kind of see what I'm talking about where I say the Hyperlite 2 is kind of in between the Hyperlite 1 and the Mach, where you're getting a lot of that, like big shoulders, you're getting a little more protection, but you're also getting more mobility than you would in the Mach. So that's really what it is. I mean, it's been like that for a little while with 2 lines. You want mobility, that's your main thing. You go Vapor, Hyperlite, you go that line. You just want max bulk, max protection, and I'm talking stock now. I'm not talking about going custom and beefing things up. This is strictly talking about stock. You go Mach. Now, within that, you can ask for beefed up arms on whatever. I can't speak to that because I have not ever ordered custom with beefed up anything. I've only ever used stock, so that's all I can speak on. But that is an option if you might want to look into it. So yeah, that's really the comparisons with these. I would say, while I do think the Hyperlite 2 is in general an improvement over the Hyperlite 1, if you're trying to save money and you can get a good price on like a used Hyperlite 1 or it's on clearance somewhere, I still think it's a really good chest protector. Again, just be aware if you're somebody really sensitive to being hit with the puck and you just don't want to feel anything, you don't want to put up with anything like that, could possibly be issues with the Hyperlite 1. That, not so much with the Hyperlite 2 if, money's not an option, you just want to get the newest, best thing. And on the other hand, if you're, you want something that's, mobile, but more so you just want something that's going to be a complete tank, not feel anything, and going to take up some room in the net, that's the Mach. So that's really the comparisons with the 3. But this ultimately overall is a Hyperlite 2 review video. So in closing, I'm just going to reiterate, I really like the Hyperlite 2 for my needs, for the way I play, for what I like. I think it's fucking awesome. Like I said, the tiniest complaint was just the thing with the straps and behind the arms. Other than that, there's really nothing I would tell Bauer they need to change or whatever. I think it's damn near perfect. I mean, I guess they can always make things lighter or whatever. And I guess technically, yeah, you can make things feel even more mobile, like, oh, I feel like I'm not even wearing anything. But just compared to what I've used in the past and whatever, that Hyperlite 2 is really good, and it's like the pinnacle, I feel, of what Bauer has come out with so far with their chest protectors, which, like I said, I like all of these. I've been impressed with all these chest protectors. I think two things Bauer is just completely killing it in with over anybody else. That's chest protectors and that's blocker. I like their other stuff too, but specifically chest protectors and blocker, I think it's like not even close between other brands. So yeah, so that's my review and also kind of comparison video with the Hyperlite 2. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, I know a lot of you guys have been messaging me saying, hey, when's it gonna come out? I'm really interested in Hyperlite 2. So here it is, and you know, thumbs up from me. Highly endorse it. If you were interested in it, I say definitely look into it, check it out. Of course, as always, if you have a store buying, you can actually look at it in person. It's better than just ordering it blind. But, you know, not all of us are lucky enough to have a store like that near us, and we have to just kind of take a chance. And that's why I do these videos for people like that mostly. But yeah, so that's the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.